The rules of how to grow a YouTube channel have completely changed this year. And I would know, I used to work at YouTube for 5 years, then worked at Instagram for 3 years, and then I started this channel.
And I want to share 7 unconventional tips
That led me to get millions of views per day. And it's not the obvious stuff that everyone's talking about. It's stuff I don't think people have heard before.
You're very good at what you do.
I want to get into the 7 tips, but before I do, quick story from my time at YouTube. Because I had a chance to work with so many amazing creators, celebrities, brands, but there's one person, one celebrity that really stuck with me as I started this channel and made that change that catapulted my channel. And that guy was James Corden. He did something so profound that people don't give him credit for, because at the time that he started his YouTube channel and his late night show, he was relatively unknown. So much so that his security guard wouldn't even let him back in after he took a lunch break because he didn't recognize him. But today, he has a much bigger YouTube channel than most of his peers, despite starting from behind. And it's because of this thing that he told us privately that he's now since said publicly on the Howard Stern show.
A bad show for me is one, I think, where we've just made what I consider to be a talk show. Anybody could have read those jokes, done that desk bit, asked those questions, introduced that band and said goodnight. And the ones that I love are the ones where I go, big song, huge taped bit, out, carpool, sketch, music.
Because you've said you view your show as a variety show, and I get that.
For sure.
You're not trying to do a talk show.
No.
And that brings us to our first tip, which is create content like Corden and not Colbert. Listen, there's 2 types of creators in this world. There are Colberts that have talk shows, do monologues, do desk bits, just do the same formats in their chair and don't really experiment. And then you have the Cordens. It's the people who experiment with different formats. We're going to talk about how to do that. They go outside of their studio. If you look at his channel, he has so many more formats, like Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts, Crosswalk Musical, Drop the Mic, Riff Off, Flinch, Face Your Mother. And the key here is this. If you have more format, then you have more opportunities to hook a viewer into constructing their own episode.
because YouTube's algorithm will recommend your shorts alongside each other for them to binge.
Versus Colbert only has a monologue, the desk pick. There's just not as much variety and hooks to speak to different kinds of viewers. And that's where I want to bring this back to my channel and your channel. Because for 10 months of my first year starting this channel last year, I was getting thousands of views because I was basically a Colbert. I was a talk show creator. I was doing monologues, I was doing interviews, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the second I started putting out variety show formats I'm going to talk about here, my channel started exploding. So I asked myself, what would a variety show about my niche, the creator economy, because I want to try to educate creators with everything I've learned from the inside at these companies. But you could ask yourself what a variety show for blank looks like, whatever your niche is. But here's what it looked like for me.
Who are these 2 people?
Tom Clooney.
Tom Clooney?
Is that Logan Paul and I don't know who the other one.
One of my formats was Creators for Celebrities, which basically took a look at this whole idea of, is social media more powerful than traditional media? Creators are more popular than celebrities. So I would ask people, is Logan Paul more popular than Tom Hanks? Is Mr. Beast more popular than Tom Cruise? And the results were fascinating, both in terms of viewership, but also the answers on the street. And it just started exploding to the point where Casey Neistat tweeted out that, like, I need his favorite TikTok in terms of comparing him and George Clooney, which is nuts to hear your favorite YouTuber say that you made his favorite TikTok. And then Graham Stephan would comment about, yeah, he's disappointed in SpongeBob because he doesn't know who Graham Stephan is when I compared him to Bill Gates. Anyways, I did other formats like creator office hours where I answer questions you guys gave me in my DMs, creator tutorials where I try to give editing tips that are more geared towards creators, and a ton of other formats that we're about to put out. But the key is that more formats equals more hooks equals more watch time. And I think too many people are being a Colbert and doing monologues and interview clips when you could be doing so much more to grow on short by taking this approach. And we're going to talk about how to come up with your format and how to film them. But if I go to the next point, which is just trust the process. Know that some of these formats will bomb, others will take off. Case in point, my Creator vs. Celebrities got tens of millions of views. My creator office hours got hundreds of thousands of views, but the creator tutorials didn't do so well. It got tens of thousands of views, so I cut it. And basically what you have to remember is that for every carpool karaoke, you're gonna have a few celebrity noses. And you're asking yourself, what celebrity noses? Well, that's a format of James Corden's that never really took off. And he has a ton of other formats like that that I saw after analyzing his channel over the years. So just know that, and just know there's AI tools coming. I'm working with TubeBuddy. I'm their head creator advisor, and they told me about this predictive analytic tool where you could literally upload videos to TubeBuddy before you show them to your audience, before you upload them on YouTube, and it'll predict the watch time. So you could get even better at this if you start doing this now and have a variety show. And that brings me to the next tip, which is perfect your first frame. I really believe this is one of the most overlooked things right now, because your first frame to your short form is as important as your thumbnail to your long form. Mark my words. What I mean by your first frame is literally what do you see at 0 seconds of your short? And does everything you see there set up expectation and tension for what you're about to watch? So in my creator versus celebrity example, I asked people, hey, who are these two people? And I had the physical printout of the creator versus celebrity, but it didn't start out that way. It took a ton of hours of iteration. I initially started out where it's just me, a microphone, and I was doing this whole long intro of like, hey guys, we're here in Hollywood asking people who's more famous, creators or celebrities. First up, we have Logan Paul versus Tom, way too long. Then I had a shorter version, and then I just got into it, which gets me into a bonus tip, which is how can you physically show your format in the first frame, not just digitally? Here's an example of that. This guy said, I'll make an ad based on a random product and a random genre. And he put 2 bowls in front of the frame with the categories written out right there. But I think we created handwriting, things that look like they came from a person. So think about how to put that in your first frame. And you'll even see like other formats I have coming up, which is creator products, first Fortune 500 products, where we put everything in that first frame. But I'd say like, Logan actually did this better. I was seeing this short where he brought the products up into the frame. He put sugar on the table when he was comparing the sugar count. And then he wrote out different note cards to show you things about Gatorade versus Prime. Just a lot of subtle but smart things that are going to the first frame and the rest of the video that allow you to stick out versus all the people who are not even thinking about this, which is like the people who didn't think about thumbnails in 2012. Again, if you get ahead of this, I promise it's going to lead to so many more views and subscribers like it has for me. Next tip is follow the 3-in-1 rule, which is, can you film 3 shorts in 1 hour? And I know that's a lot. And I know most of us don't even have close to the budget of a James Corden, because if the credits at the end of your video look like what they do at the end of his show, they look like this. You're the producer, you're the director, you're the talent, you're doing everything. I want to show you my schedule when I filmed the creator of a celebrity format, because I would literally set a goal to simplify it as much as possible so I could repeat it 3 times in 1 hour at least, and go out, get 9 videos, which total over 48 million views. And here are 3 things that I thought about in that process of simplifying. 1, can I turn a stat into a story? This stat of creators being more popular than celebrities has been going around for ages. I think I was one of the first people to make it more emotional and visceral with this comparison. Number 2, can you make minor changes to the past, not major changes? I literally studied old formats like Jay Leno's jaywalking when he went on the street, or Jimmy Kimmel's on the street format, to come up with my twist, which led to this. And lastly, how can you have a dialogue, not a monologue, with your videos? Again, I think we're in such echo chambers now that we crave hearing what a stranger has to say, because we're not getting that in our daily life. So by me going on the street, you going on the street, you talking to strangers about something related to your niche, I think you strive and get towards that dialogue, not the monologue. And that brings us to our next tip, which is simplify your speech. Especially in short form, you want to make sure that your speech, your talking has no speed bumps, because stats show that over 50% of adults prefer to read at an 8th grade level, right? They like to keep it simple, but that doesn't mean you have to dumb it down. So check out this app. It's called HemingwayApp.com. It's absolutely free. You could literally copy and paste a script, bullet points, whatever you're going to use for your video, and it'll color code and tell you what grade level it's at. Like, here's a script I took from Investopedia explaining what an NFT is, and you could just see how bad it is. Like, there's red lines everywhere. It's grade 14, and I simplified it to this: grade 8, no red or yellow lines. And if you're wondering how did I get from point A to point B, just remember the 3 C's when it comes to this tip. Be clear, be confident, be concise. When it comes to being clear in your writing, get rid of all words that sound like competencies. Say skills instead. Don't say optimize, say perfect. I really believe that bad writers hide behind big words, and bad creators by an extension of that. Big words are just meant to make you feel important and smart in most cases, not all cases. And I think most times you want to think about how can you make your audience feel smart. And another way to do that is just being confident. I think a lot of times, you could say, I think, possibly, maybe in the context of brainstorming, but when you're trying to be an authority on something and teach somebody something, it just undermines what you're bringing to the table. So be confident, get rid of those words. And lastly, be concise, make it digestible. Make your paragraphs as you talk no more than 4 sentences. Make your sentences no more than 25 words, have pauses, and then also no double descriptions. For the love of God, you don't need to say that the room was clean and tidy. The room was clean. Move on. We get the point. And that brings us to our next point, which is marry your niche while you're varying your format. Look, I'm all for doing different experiments, but one thing you should always stay focused on is your niche. Because if you have too much variety in a variety show, then you don't really have a show or a focus. To me, I wanted to have a creator economy variety show. So people could go from watching the creator versus celebrity comparison to a creator office hour, to a creator interview clip, to a creator story. Or if you're a business channel like my buddy Alex, you could go from watching his short form Shark Tank to his business tips, to his business interviews. Or a cooking channel, you could go from a recipe to a kitchen tour, to a travel vlog. But if you have too much variety and you go from like a real estate tour to a creator economy bit to a business bit, it just doesn't make any sense. And you're going to lose your audience. You're going to lose those hooks. You're going to lose those opportunities for people to construct watch time journeys by making an episode because it doesn't really have flow to it. And by the way, you're probably going to be losing a lot of brand deal opportunities that you didn't even know you had, because brands want to partner with creators who have niche and targeted audience. And by marrying a niche, you're able to get a lot more money. I mean, that's what I was able to do. I was able to get partnerships with brands, even though I was a smaller channel. TubeBuddy, Stir, Fiverr, they all wanted to reach the creators that I was trying to reach with my content. And then I'll say this, you got to start now. This window will not last long, because what James Corden did in 2014 when YouTube was starting out, you can now do on steroids with YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Reels. And most people don't know this terminology. Heck, I feel like I made most of it up because I wanted to try to share what I was doing differently from month 10 to month 11 and 12 and getting those millions of views. Focusing on the first frame, thinking about the 3-in-1 rule, all of this stuff. And if you're thinking you can't do this, believe me, I thought this as well, but I am just the kid of immigrants. And how am I bootstrapping this channel to get more views than some top creators, get more views than some media networks, and almost even surpass James Corden himself is beyond me. But I think it's just because I'm applying these tactics during the right time. And I think you could do the same. And if you think it's too crowded or it's too late, it's not. James Corden got his start when he was unknown and he was battling 4 other white dudes. So if he could do that, you could do this. And then once you have that audience, you can move them towards long form like I'm doing now. You can move into your podcast like I just started, and to your products and courses. So subscribe and ring that notification bell. I got so much more I want to talk about now that I'm on the outside, but still have all the knowledge from my time inside YouTube and Instagram and being a creator. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next episode.